a coincidence.
I'm out of the last.
So since we don't get to have Sonia in very much anymore,
Yeah.
let's hear from you, Sonia. Why don't you say something nice?
Hi. The universe is very big and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to come out there with all the religion stuff you guys are talking about. So
We're doing an episode of The Third Thing. This is the final episode for 2026, and we were talking about.
Roger, did you want to go back to the Stations of the Cross where you were trying to go with that?
Well, I actually did. It was like Mary, when Mary went to go help Jesus. Jesus looked up at her and says, "See, I make all things new." And I think that's where a lot of people miss out on the whole message there when it comes to what I'm trying to talk about here, when it comes to triality, And it's like Mike was talking about the one, and me and Otto actually got into a conversation, and this actually relates to Jesus on the cross as well as the Buddha tree, or the Buddha tree, which is the Axis, the Bodhi tree, which is the Axis Mundi. Okay. Now,
it's a very, very common symbol, and we were talking before Tan joined us, about people go on about Easter, and we were talking about Easter, and it's like, well, Easter, ancient, pagan, this that, and again, and Tan can correct me, but as I understood, when Jesus had the Last Supper, went through the Passion, it was all at a time of a religious festival of the Jews, which is very similar to all other religious festivals that happened at that time in the Mediterranean. This is not an uncommon thing for humans to have festivals at these times. Right. And Christ was in the process of fulfilling prophecy. And you can argue one way or the other that he was consciously fulfilling prophecy. I have to do this, I have to do that. And so his passion coincided with a holy calendar, which was very important as far as it came to fulfilling prophecies that had been made within that system. And he was in that way aligning his ministry with this very archetypal, old, powerful tradition that was very traditional to the Hebrew people that he was living amongst at the time. They wouldn't have seen it as like some kind of a pagan survival or this or that. It was simply what they did. So anyway, I think our point was basically that if there's, people talk a lot about it's really originally, quote unquote, a pagan festival, but I would say it's more, you can't say the one is built on the other. It's more like it's a constellation. And again, we're humans. We're talking about the divine. We're trying to, if you accept Jesus as a divine being, as God incarnate, then how can God communicate to us except through the symbols that we know, the language that we know? That's why I've always been a fan of St. Dionysius the Areopagite, with his epiphatic theology, where it's like we can't really talk about God because we're so limited. Anytime we talk about God, we're going to be lying, or at least not telling the truth. So the best we can do is say what God is not, and open ourselves up to hopefully a direct divine experience. But that's my little rant.
It was a good rant.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Easter is not originally a Christian thing, but the Passover, the Pascha, which is the Jewish tradition, is, and it's dated around the same time. But in the context of Jesus, he was fulfilling that Passover. Like the original Passover was, and the timing was intentional on his part, right? The original Jewish Passover was the Passover of the Israelite from
Egypt,
slavery from Egypt into freedom. So the Jesus's Passover is going to be the passing over of sin into this new creation that he's creating, like going back to Rogers, where he said, "Look, Mother, I'm creating something new." Well, he is the new creation. He's the new Adam, according to the church tradition. The original
Right.
Adam was one made human and fallen, but the new Adam, the new creation, is the new Adam that comes from heaven, and his generation will be everlasting. So this new creation that he's creating from his resurrection is going to be this thing that is going to bring in this new kingdom of heaven that is the church today.
And this kind of gets to the Axis Mundi again, because isn't there a tradition, I don't know if it's in scripture, that the site of the crucifixion was the site of where the original tree of good and evil stood, so that the original tree of the fruit of knowledge of the good and evil is cognate with the cross on which Christ is crucified. I don't know if literally so.
I thought that.
But
I'm not sure if literally that's true either, but
Golgotha?
the
the hill of Golgotha?
The Golgotha is actually an interesting story. I wish I had that on the top of my head, but yeah, that is actually that's really deep Jewish beliefs.
And I completely love that. I don't know if
Yeah,
I don't
that's good.
feel about what's that movie, Dogma? I don't know how. Tan, have you seen Dogma? But so there's supposed to be a excrement demon. They call it the Golgotha because everyone that's crucified, well, of course they poo themselves, and so there's supposed to be this large hill of crap, and because it's a cursed place, demons, crap demons, supposed to exist.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know.
I don't know how
I-
much touching that is.
it's-
but
well-
that's the movie.
I didn't see all of that movie. The impression I got was that it basically was a story of what if all Roman Catholic dogma was literally true.
Mhm.
And of course, they picked the most ridiculous things they can possibly find. And they were also dipping into Jewish traditions too, and minor rabbinical kind of commentaries and stuff. So
Well, there's something that's very interesting in the whole poop thing, because it does appear now in the
Bob isn't here because we're talking about poop.
well,
Carry on,
this is actually very significant, because even Daniel, like in the book in the Old Testament, he laid in his own excrement. Okay,
It happened. It happened.
Okay.
you know,
When
and-
he's in the lion's den for how many days?
but I'm just saying that it is a part of the scriptures, and there's something that's very significant there, and it appears maybe twice, I believe, two maybe three times. And that's significant for the Bible, period, because a lot of people believe that it's a repetition, and it really isn't. There's a lot of different stuff, but when they start using common themes and stuff like that and bringing it back, that's usually something that's important in that book for them.
Mhm.
And that is a point. And I just wanted to mention that. But what else is there? I was thinking of it was the what is that? It's supposed to be a form of reincarnation.
Huh.
They also believe that spirits can actually temporarily reincarnate into a living being for a short period of time. So this has a lot to do with what B's talking about there too. I forgot the name of it. It starts with a G. It's the Gilgoth or something like that. Oh, Gilgoth is what,
Place of Skulls, I think.
that's what I think that's what B just said. Gilgoth.
An execution ground. Yeah.
Mhm. So
And
that
of course, this reinforces the whole idea of God Almighty having the most pathetic of deaths. You know, as a common criminal in a common execution place where they poop.
Mhm.
Definitely the suffering servant. I can't think.
Wait, I missed something. Does Golgotha means the place of poop?
I think of
Golgotha is
the
the hill.
skulls.
where Christ was
Yeah, the Golgotha means the place of the skull. Yeah.
I was saying skulls because of all the dead bodies and stuff lying around, probably.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Skulls for the skull throne.
Now, the thing that I heard about when it comes to the crucifixion was that Jesus, when he was on the cross, that was the Axis Monday where all sin from the future, the past, and the present during that time period all met. So, okay, so like that
Yeah.
Spiritual ground zero.
right. So, because according to the whole precepts of why Jesus sacrificed himself was for your and my sin, everybody's sins. You see what I mean? So it didn't matter if it was in the future, if it was in the past or the present. He was actually sacrificing himself for the sins of man, even before they were born. So your sin,
Yeah.
Transcending time and space.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
God
transcending
is
time.
outside of that. Yeah.
Right.
And that would be the equivalent of what the tree stood for. I don't want to say the name again. The Buddha,
Bodhi.
Bodhi,
Wait.
the Bodhi tree.
I was gonna say, if
Are you comparing the Bodhi tree in Buddhism to the tree of life in the Garden of Eden?
No, I'm the
tree of
cross.
knowledge of good and evil.
That
There are two
that
trees in the garden.
that would be Jesus actually on the cross. Is what I'm comparing it
Oh,
to. That would
Okay, so
that
the
moment.
wood that was used to make
No,
the
no,
cross?
just that moment in time, him on the cross, not the wood. Just him on the cross.
Okay.
That right
that?
there represents the same thing as the Bodhi tree. I said,
Very-
Let's see.
Very.
Oh,
The Buddhist guy.
so
said-
the
so you're
just
you're
as Buddha
comparing.
said under
Yeah, it's
Wait,
like,
Mark,
are we
there you are.
comparing Christ's crucifixion with the Buddha's enlightenment?
yeah.
That's
yeah.
interesting in a certain sense. We could get a really good heresy going here with a little
Yeah.
bit of work. But if you want to think of when Christ, you could say, transcended his material envelope, that was, I guess you could equate that with enlightenment of a sort, opening up into something larger. But I think that in Buddhism, the Bodhi tree, there's a lot of mythology in Buddhism, a lot of things in Buddhism that came a lot later. A lot of stuff hundreds and hundreds of years later. And as I've often said, Buddhism, when it came to countries, it didn't really try to get people to convert, but people would start looking at their religious traditions through Buddhist lenses. And I think what I think of when I think of the Buddha at the Axis Mundi, the Bodhi tree, I think of that famous saying from the book of the 27 philosophers that they don't really quite know who said it, but it was that God is an intelligible sphere whose circumference is nowhere and whose center is everywhere, kind of deal. So when the Buddha attained enlightenment, the tree he sat under was the axis of the world, but so would any other tree be, because he at that moment was at the still center. The axis is where nothing moves, right? So everything is revolving around you. He had stilled all the samsara. So again, we're talking about basically a mental experience that he went through, and that's really what the Buddha teaches. It has to do with a mental experience of your own. Whereas Christ's crucifixion represented the culmination of his passion for a completely different spiritual kind of a mission, the remission of sins, and which I think that we sin because we are unenlightened. I mean, you can make a connection there, and I think they both can represent the Axis Mundi, but I think for different reasons. But again, people are aware that there's a center, and this is universal with us all. And again, when we're speaking about God, or we're speaking about a mental experience that is beyond description, we're going to be using these symbols. That is the center of the earth, the place where, as we were just saying, as Roger was saying, where all sin is ground zero for sin. All just meet at this one point. That is an axis of the world, an axis of the universe. But I think you can also have an axis of the universe where somebody wakes up suddenly and realizes that sin is really useless.
On a side note, one of my favorite comic book characters' name is Samsara. Can you guess what powers are? Can you guess?
Good.
So he's just a kid. He's got a jewel in the middle of his forehead. The superpowers are when he dies, he's reborn the next day. His flesh grows around his gym.
That's pretty samsaric, actually. That's pretty samsaric. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, in Buddhism, we have an evil figure too, a tempter figure, called Mara. Mara, he's often described as the evil one, the tempter, the naughty guy.
Right.
And he is seen as the king of the samsaric realm, right? So whenever anyone tries to get enlightened and tries to break out of it, he's right there. Oh, come on, have a drink. Come on.
Yeah, he's the tempter.
You know what? You could have that guy's wife if you murdered him. Yeah, just stuff like that. You just stay here. Look at the fun you can have. And when somebody is trying to keep their precepts and meditate and not have lustful thoughts, he's there. Hey, remember that dancing girl from last week? So yeah, but his whole goal is to get people to just stay in. Well, samsara, it's more of an activity. They just wandering around doing the same thing again. And with that idea of a jewel, that's actually pretty samsaric. No matter what you do, you're just back here doing the same stuff again. The only way that the young samsara could free himself from that jewel would be to cultivate precepts. Yes, Sonia. I'm sorry. I don't mean to babble. I do.
No, I was just trying to be polite, and plus Jaffe really kind of put me in my place there about all that. But I just wanted to know, is samsaric an actual word? Or is that it is? Okay.
I've heard it used by other people besides me, but samsara means literally wandering on or wandering around.
Oh, I'm familiar with the samsara thing.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about it as a realm, like we are in samsara, but technically it doesn't really matter much, except it can lead to misunderstandings in things like Mahayana Buddhism. They have this thing called the Bodhisattva vow that a lot of people have heard of. And the idea is that you're going to be a bodhisattva and you're not going to attain enlightenment until you've helped every other being out of samsara. So you're going to stay in samsara and help everybody, you first, after you open the door for them and stuff. But that is a metaphor that only holds if you believe that samsara is a place, but it's actually an activity. So one Buddhist monk compared it to saying, well, look, I'm a heroin addict, but I'm not going to quit using heroin until I help all the other heroin addicts to stop using heroin. No, that's not really a good idea. The best way you can help other people out of samsaric behavior is to stop doing it yourself. If nothing else, you can serve as an example. But Mahayana Buddhism is full of a lot of...
Oh, he went blank.
Oh no.
He went blank. He was right in the middle of some good stuff too.
Samsara is a Sanskrit word. Isn't it?
Yes. So,
Yes.
Yeah. I guess written in Sanskrit, right?
Oh yeah, we got.
So all I said was that Mahayana Buddhism is full of a lot of very, very strange doctrines.
Mhm.
But
Do you find as many contradictions in that as I don't know, Christianity, like in the Bible?
every religion has a certain point at which it is not going to make any logical sense. And again,
they seem to be contradiction. There's just like a paradox, right? In science, in physics, they seemingly contradict, but
right, but logically, it's not going to. Logically, it's not going to make sense.
And see, people.
you at best you can say it's paradoxical, but
We'll look at the word paradox, okay?
we cannot have a religion that is full of contradiction.
Wait,
How do we survive 2,000 years?
You look at what we've been talking about, the difference between duality and dualism, and then you guys are talking about contradictions and then paradoxes. It's like in the last episode we were talking about, it says in the Bible, in our images, as a plural. Now that is a masculine aspect. That's in literature. That's the masculine aspects of literature. That's why they did that. They weren't doing that because there's freaking 500 versions of gods that were aliens. Okay, it's because it was written in it was written in a masculine prose, which was common during that time period. But if you weren't aware of that, you wouldn't understand that. You see what I mean? So it really comes down to the actual language and how it was interpreted. You know, there are some things that have been left in, but then there's some things that haven't. You know.
Well, there's also, and getting back to what V was asking about inconsistencies in like religious scriptures and stuff. You know, in Buddhism, there are people in the West read something and they think, oh, that's Buddhism. All right. A lot of what people read are actually commentaries and commentaries on commentaries. I mean, they've been going at this for like almost 3,000 years of like writing commentaries and sub-commentaries. And there's a lot of traditional things that are accepted by lay Buddhists, by most Buddhists, and at the same time, they're not theologically, much as we were talking about earlier, about all those good Catholics attending voodoo ceremonies in Haiti. This has nothing to do with the actual theology, but these are folk beliefs, popular religion, as it's called sometimes. Tan, we were talking about all those saints that the Welsh had. Dozens and dozens of saints that they were just set up for themselves. So that, you know, this is popular religion, and it's not always going to be very accurate. And one thing I like to point out in Buddhism, there's Buddhist traditions that the Buddha stood 57 foot tall, and he had this weird hairdo that you've seen on the statues, and rays of light came out. This is very unlikely, and we have more reliable accounts of people, and I've mentioned this, going to visit where the Buddha was, and they go, where's the Buddha? Because he looked like just all the other monks. You know, it's like, oh, it's that shaven-haired guy talking to the other shaven-haired guy, you know, in a robe. So there are, but you can also look at this as a metaphorical way of saying, here is a person of immense spiritual and mental power. And of course, it's going to be, in a sense, it's like, you know, the old carvings they would show the king as like 3 foot taller than everybody else around him. Probably did not have an 18-foot tall king, but you know, people would notice that we'd find big chairs and things like that.
The Napoleon complex, I mean, that's what I call it, because he always embellished, right?
Or Napoleon. Well, I thought was funny was when Alexander the Great began his retreat, according to one account I read, he had huge bits of armor made, like giant breastplates and greaves and swords and stuff, to leave lying around, so people would start a legend that he was a great giant. You know, like a giant breastplate with property of Alexander the Great on it or something like that. I don't know if it ever actually happened, but at least one ancient commentator talked about it. Psychological warfare.
With me, a lot of that goes into like, you take a look at synthesis, like we were talking about, okay? If you take a look at that, it's usually involving like a character in a story that changed, you know, or a world that's reborn. You take a look at Jesus, and that is basically what that comes down to when it comes to thesis, you know. And then you go farther back and you look at what they were talking about with the world tree, and you start understanding about the primordial, which is represented by the roots of the world tree. This is where the primordial mud and the primordial water created an atmosphere that allowed the world tree to take root and grow upwards. Okay, and when the world tree grows upwards, it's actually ascending up, and for it to ascend up, that represents going from the trials and tribulations and the sorrow and the grief that's down in the roots, ascending up through trials and tribulations until it comes out of that. And what'd you say?
Yggdrasil.
Yeah, well, that's actually newer than the world tree. Like a lot of people always like to refer to that. That's New Age compared to the world tree. If you want to if you want to talk real story about it, then talk the original version of Jack and the Beanstalk. Okay, like everybody thinks that's just a childhood story, but it actually traces back a long way.
Isn't Yggdrasil in the Eddas though?
It
Yeah,
is.
that was the ancient Germanic people's tradition, but I think it's the same idea of a center, and
Mhm.
a tree is a very powerful emblem because of that coming up from the dark, from the dirt, from the mud. In the East, they often use in Buddhism they talk about a lotus plant because the lotus has its roots in the mud, the muck, and the stalk comes up through all these murky waters and stuff. Yet at the top, seemingly suspended, is this beautiful blossom. And to have that beautiful blossom, you've got to have those tribulations getting up through the water, and of course that dark shadow that Young, I think we brought up about Young talked about before, getting to know the shadow.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean embracing it, but it means acknowledging it and seeing where these things come out of. You know, we all have drives and urges that we, I think the word is sometimes sublimate, or we direct properly.
Well,
And
I think normally we fight all that kind of thing, right? Because we're told that, you know, you have to be good, you can't be mad, you have to
Well,
be a certain way.
oh yeah, and it's good not to express negative emotions because we were talking
Well,
about
you have to integrate that part of yourself, which is like shadow work. I know that's probably like a new age kind of thing, but it still is what it is, you know?
I like
But
that. Hey, but Otto, can I also add to what you're saying? The lotus. I mean, I talk about when I'm doing my political stuff, I'm doing that kind of stuff. I talk about pond scum, and we know
Right.
what pond scum does. It's the crap in the pond that floats up to the top, and when it does coat the top, because of lack of food and sunlight, everything below it dies. Right?
Mhm.
right,
And
so
it
it's kind of like
stinks.
the opposite.
And it stinks and it's rancid. It's the worst odor you could ever freaking smell.
yeah, the pond
Oh,
scum
get on the
itself
scum,
loves it. The pond scum floats up to the surface. It's getting all that sunlight. It's got a whole pond. They've killed all the fish, so now they've got all those nutrients in the water. You
Mhm.
know, it's a wonderful thing if you're pond scum.
And it creates life.
Pond scum life, but it's life. You know.
Mhm.
Right. So what kind of life do we want, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, right. See,
But I was thinking about, you know, when it comes to sublimating, I mean, we have urges like we want to eat, you know, but instead of taking that urge and just sitting and stuffing our faces like infants, we say, well, I want to enjoy my food. I'm going to make a nice balanced meal, and we'll eat that, and it'll taste really good. We don't have to just scarf something out of the can,
We can
can take-
actually ponder upon it before
Right.
that even
and
happens.
instead of it coming out as a negative
There you
thing, it can be directed into something that is more,
Absolutely.
yeah.
oh,
So
no,
I'm
that
kinda
was
looking
an
at it that way.
actual pun. I like
It's
that.
all about being conscious, really.
Yeah.
Yes, that's important. Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course, you know, especially nowadays.
Puns about pond scum.
Well, before, but now that we've gone through all that, let's kind of go through the whole. Dan, tell us about Easter and how it's supposed to be interpreted when it comes to Christianity. If we could have that.
Pondering about pond scum.
Hold-
Can I have
hold
that?
on,
That's
hold
not
on.
a good name for a
Hey,
band.
hey,
That's your next show, V. That's your next.
hey. Alright, let's give Dan some time to kind of go through this.
Come on, Pan.
I started I started mentioning it when we talked about Passover and Easter, and we know that Easter is the pagan thing, and Christianity kind of Christianized that holiday and made it a Christian holiday due to the coincidence of the timing and the date and the symbolism that pagan holiday represent, where the
Rebirth.
the rebirth of this god, the goddess Estros, or whatever was her name,
Interesting.
which is the goddess of fertility in whatever, can't remember which religion that came out of.
Sounds Germanic.
What was that?
It's
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Germanic, I'm guessing, but we have a lot
Yeah.
of Germanic, our days of the week,
Right.
Yeah, and so it fits well into the Christian worldview where Christ crucifixion, death, and resurrection is kind of a springtime of new life.
Or should I say birthday?
Yeah. It's way back in the 7th or 8th century when this started happening, and since then it's now known as the Anglo-Saxon origin of it. Now we call it Easter. But so this is an example of Christianization of pagan things. Just like this is
Right.
biblical in the Acts of the Apostles, where the apostle went in and he saw the people worshiping strange god, right? And I can't remember which apostles it was. Maybe it was Paul. He said, "This unknown god that you're worshiping, that's actually the God of Jesus."
That was the altar at the in Athens, I think.
Yeah.
They had an altar. They
Yeah.
sacrificed all the gods,
Athens, yes, yeah.
like the unknown god.
So,
Well, yeah, because people have this spiritual flow going anyway, and you're not going to just stop it and redirect it. If you work with water, if we're going to keep the water metaphor, you build copper dams, you dig other channels, but you have to let the water flow through the channels. You can strengthen the channels, put in concrete and stuff like that to make sure it doesn't erode things. And this kind of gets back to what I was saying about how just that time of the year, people would have these festivals. Christ's Passion went through the Paschal Feast, which was again held at this time of the year. Yeah, I know it celebrates the Passover, but still these festivals would fall into this yearly pattern because, like Tan was saying, this is a time of rebirth, springtime. Of course, people are naturally happy. And of course, they relied on the stars, the movements of the sun and the moon and the stars. This was tied in very much into how people conceived the world. So we talk about astrology and this and that, but for these guys, this was rocket science and top physics. So of course, the time of year, which for them meant how the stars were, was a very important part of things. And yeah, it's natural enough to keep, I don't think it's sort of what I was saying before, when Buddhism moves into a new place, people start looking at things through a Buddhist lens. When people became Christians, they saw these things as Christian things. And of course we do this traditionally, but we do it, and they have good Christian reasons to do it now. I disagree with the Puritans who wanted to come down and cut down all the Christmas trees and get rid of all the Easter eggs and stuff because they weren't in the Bible. It's like, well, you're not a bunch of people living in Judea in 1 AD. You're living in Wales in the 900s or something, or the 800s. Mm-hmm. And why shouldn't your religious ideas inform your activities there any more than they're going to inform what you're doing? So I think that's really a better conversion in a sense. Instead of trying to convert people by forcing them to change their outward symbols, you're giving them new inner ideas to place.
Well, it's redirecting of the where we recognize that there's truth that exists in every religion, right? So with some of the vision, some of those that are really compatible, we redirect their belief into something larger.
Yeah, why not?
Well, see, you brought up a good issue or a good topic there too, because you mentioned eggs and then the Puritans. Okay, it seems odd to me that the Puritans actually did that too, because the region where they originated, which was around Germany and areas like that, actually believed in what I eventually came into learning about when I started doing the cosmic weave, and that's actually a theory. It's something that I didn't come up with. I just started researching it, just so you guys know. And their whole premise comes off of the cosmic egg theory, or philosophy, or whatever you want to call it. And this goes all the way back to the Greeks, the Phoenicians, and all of them. And I find that very interesting, because in that region where Puritans started up, that was actually a part of their traditions from way back when. So even going against it and saying that that's just wrong, that's kind of like going against their own beliefs from their heritage. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there's a great deal of power in doing that, when you completely throw over all your beliefs and all your traditions, and I'm going to do this new. It can be very empowering, but you can also lose a lot of stuff. I wouldn't put anything past the Puritans.
Mhm.
And Otto, by the way, whenever you light your pipe there,
Yeah.
and the light goes on, all I can think of is just, and part of the Bible where God said, "Let there be light."
I was thinking.
Yeah. And
He's taking the
Otto looks like God too.
Well, yeah, he's white God. Yeah, he looks like white God. There we
I
go.
was thinking maybe Moses, but I wouldn't.
yeah.
You know. But now this gets into the more controversial area, and this is where me and Tan have had disagreements. I think me and Otto actually disagreed about this too, and it's resurrection versus ascension. Now, with me, I've had the conversation with Dan where we got into the conversation, and he wanted to specifically say there is a difference between resurrection and ascending. So, and plus with my whole
Really,
thing,
there is.
There is.
Well, he resurrected and 50 days
And
later he
something more.
ascended.
Ascending means now forward, up, or whatever.
It's not the same event.
It's
well, I
not.
mean, no, literally in the Bible, he actually ascended upward. Like
Right.
he literally ascended upward. Like it,
And considering that very topic there, and the tradition that's, if Tan can correct me, I might be wrong, but in the tradition of Catholicism, Jesus, this wasn't the ascension of a soul that died. No, Jesus himself in physical body got up and was resurrected, and then his body, him in its entirety, was risen up into heaven. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So
His resurrected body, his glorified
His
body,
resurrected
not the Bruce. Yeah.
but we also have Enoch from the book of Enoch. He's the only other person to be risen to heaven in his earthly body.
I saw the Elijah also.
So what does that mean?
Didn't Elijah also go to heaven bodily?
Elijah, yes, Elijah as well.
Elijah.
Yeah, but those are the only people that are recorded as having been taken bodily to heaven. Yeah.
We'll step away for a minute, guys. Be back.
Okay.
I think the whole point of the ascension was that there was a resurrection first. I'm sure, I mean, hey, get me out of here before the crucifixion, that sort of thing. I'm sure he might have wanted an ascension sooner, but he even said at the end, take this cup from me kind of deal. But, too late. That's what you signed up for, kid. Get up on that cross.
But my question and my train of thought is if you're taken up to heaven, you're risen up to heaven, and it's supposed to be a spiritual plane. Was in bringing the body?
Well.
So what happened to the body? What was
in Eastern Orthodoxy, they would say this is a mystery.
I wanted Tan's opinion on this.
I would personally say that it had to show significance. You know what I'm saying? There had to be something significant to the story for it to actually hold weight.
I agree with that.
You know, like I was talking to Otto and Bob Dub about suggestions. You know, like most suggestions don't really make a difference. Like the only suggestions that really do make a difference and actually change people is those that are profound. So if you want to suggest something to somebody, it has to be profound. You know what I mean? It just can't be some mediocre suggestion that you give somebody.
Well, one thing that's profound to someone might not be profound to another, kind of thing, you know?
That's the trick.
Yeah.
That's the trick. You see what I mean? That's the whole trick behind it
So
all.
it's tricky. Okay.
Yeah, tricky, you know? Like,
Tricky.
and
The whole fucking place is tricky. Are you kidding me?
Welcome to.
Come on. You know?
so like, I mean,
Especially nowadays. Fuck.
for me being risen into heaven, the physical body and everything, that was something that was profound, that had to catch the attention of people. You know what I mean? It was something that they paid attention to, and apparently it worked out, because people are still worshiping Jesus over 2,000 years later. You know.
No, I'm
Talk
gonna
about
say.
worshiping, but you know, I mean, that right there, worshiping can be debated, but you know,
Well, and you also have the example.
if y'all want to go.
I mean, when Enoch was brought into heaven, he became Metatron, the little god. So I think, like, in my mythology I'm creating in my head, it's like, because he was brought up in his physical body, he was able to add a different or higher level of a dimensional existence, because everybody else goes up to him as a spirit.
I have a question.
Actually,
How do you know Enoch is Metatron? I mean, where does that come from? Maybe I'm just ignorant
That's
about
Jew-
the whole thing.
That's Jewish tradition.
again, there's a lot of traditions. There's a lot of stories, but I seem to think that there's another tradition. And again, Tan isn't here. That he might be aware of it, but I believe when you go to heaven, you do get a body. I mean, these guys had a very physical idea of the world, and this goes back to that whole mind-body dualism that people had. They hated the flesh and stuff, but I think when you get to heaven, you're given like a nice, fresh new body. Although there is no
It's
giving
almost like when
in
people
marriage. You might be missing
die,
something.
kind of thing. They still have a body, but it's the body that they choose to have, kind of thing.
Well, I kind of think of it as like, me personally, I have my own little thing I'm writing, and it's all about being spiritual beings, but being cast. It's very Gnostic. It's being cast into the physical world. You are literally strapped into a body, and that's like a prison sentence. And like, when you get done,
Right.
you die, you come back, and maybe time served. You know.
Now, see, with me, when I hear you guys all talk, the only thing that really sticks out to me is Indo-European, and for even with Christianity and Judaism, you know, you look at a lot of these texts, and you have to freaking see where freaking this stuff has creeped into all of these religions. And this goes all the way across, even into India. You know what I mean? It's just everywhere. I was talking about the world tree, okay? When you look at the history of the world tree, it's usually anchored on the top of a mountain, the world mountain, or it's anchored on the back of a freaking horse or a reindeer, okay? Now reindeers are a part of Christmas. Mountain worshiping.
Really? Is that where
Yeah.
it comes from?
Well, I'm just saying, it just seems odd, you know.
There's more to it.
You know, me and Mark just had to go through that before, where I had to be corrected on the Irish and St. Patrick's, you know, because I found out that was Queen Victoria. But all my life, I was always told that St. Patrick's is the one who syncretized the Christmas tree, or the pagans in with the Christians, and that's how he did it. He would
Oh my
incorporate.
gosh, there's so many lies in history, though. I mean, how can you even differentiate?
I mean, I remember hearing that all the way from when I was a kid, man. You know.
Well, I heard Santa Claus was fucking real. when I was a kid too, and look what happened there. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
actually,
He is.
he was
Programming, all this programming.
Santa Claus is real.
Well, Saint Nick.
Saint
My bad.
Nick
Funny,
was,
some
was
kids might be
guy-
listening. Shush. Of course Santa's real.
so
Well, looky here. We have Santa right down here.
Any child under the age of 12, if you are still up, get your ass to bed, or I'm telling your mom.
That's right. That's right.
Santa Claus is real.
Don't we all?
Saint Nick, there's a story behind it.
Yeah, there is.
It was this guy who went into this motel. He was trying to get a place, a place to sleep for the night. He noticed all these children chopped up in pieces in his barrel, and he resurrected them and then gave them presents or something like that. It's,
I didn't hear that one.
I've read the story, but
Very
it's based
brutal.
on it's based on a story like that. Yeah, like he had powers of resurrection.
Right.
So,
Well,
Yeah, seems like a wizard to me.
well,
pretty much, yeah.
I love wizards.
resurrection to me also sounds a little bit too much like reincarnation. It really kind of sticks out.
Reincarnation, I think. Don't you get a new karmic slate
No.
No.
or a different karmic slate?
Nope.
No,
You
you-
don't tell us that.
Or
Karma,
you
sure.
Karma,
Well, karma can be created at any point in time, sure.
Now the
But
whole
time only exists in the third dimension here, so.
the ideology behind it is different. Don't get me wrong.
Could go full Celtic. They didn't have karma, but what happened with them was you would die and then you go to the next world, and then you die in the next world and you come back here, and then you die here and you go. They just go back and forth and back and forth. So they
Right.
would actually have like debts that would be repaid in the next world, which sounds like Canadian Irishman would have. Saying they think, oh sure, Patty, my boy, I would be sure to pay you when we're in the next world, no problem. But I really need a beer tonight. I really
We're
do.
gonna get a hamburger
I'm glad-
today.
Yeah, it's like I'm glad you paid
You fucking
Tuesday
thing.
for hamburger today.
Yeah,
I will gladly pay you next lifetime for a
that's
hamburger.
right. That's right. Yeah,
And,
we were all
and
programmed with that shit when we were kids, you know.
Yeah, I love pie. The whole
Everything comes from somewhere. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
now the thing that I finally started getting into towards the end of all this is there's like I got into the whole triality. I started learning about duality and triality, but then like you hear in computer science about symmetry and complexity, and finally I got to the point where I was learning about elegance, and when you hear about the word elegance, that's really what sticks out, especially when it comes to computer coding.
Oh wow, that's a little different there. I did want to say real quick though, you guys, that I have a T-shirt that I made that is called "Duality." It's crossed out, and then it has "Truality" at the bottom of it. So,
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Cool.
yeah. So I'm thinking. I mean, you're saying triality, which I guess that makes sense too. But the whole reason I made that shirt was because of having a oneness experience, and then coming back to this area to where everybody's like it's like folks can't see outside of duality at all, like it's only black or white, right or wrong, you know, when there's so many different other things going on besides just that. So I just wanted to mention that. And if you guys want to like get a shirt, that's cool. Or I'm actually redoing my website here, so hopefully I'll actually make some sales in the future. Kind of thing.
Oh, cool. I'll check out your site. Post a link.
And actually, I'm glad you showed up, because I was talking to Otto a little while ago about this whole non-duality thing, and you would be a good person to talk to too about it.
Yeah, you've told me that actually. Didn't you want to do an interview about that or something?
Yeah, but you had.
I just don't really have a lot to do with the book learned stuff like what you guys are talking about. I'm more just like, I look into like the ethers and see stuff kind of thing. It's where I come up with my stuff at. Although I am aware of some of the stuff, but not near as much as what you guys got going on.
Whatever. I've had some pretty good conversations. You're so full of shit. You are so full of shit, Sonya. You know you are. I can't tell you how many times. Like, she pulled out a freaking old dictionary that was the size of my freaking arm, dude, from my elbow all the way
Dictionary
down
where
to.
you find knowledge at, you
Those
know.
are the dictionaries. I got one of those too.
That shit nowadays, you know what
Well,
I
that's
mean?
not a bad thing. I'm complimenting you. You know.
Oh,
You-
thank you. Sweet, thank you.
Okay,
I
so
didn't know. I couldn't tell by your delivery.
yeah, I know it
But
sucks.
it almost seems
I,
like you're putting me down or something. Like, oh, that chick over
Dude,
there is crazy.
I'm
you know?
100% pumped.
Roger's notorious for
Yeah.
I'm one.
Welcome back, Ted.
I'm 100% punk, baby.
V had
100%
something to ask
punk.
you. Do you remember what it was, V? What you want to ask Tan about?
So I was presenting this scenario here because as I was saying, so Jesus was not only resurrected but he ascended, right? But he didn't only ascend; it wasn't just spirit; it was full body and spirit, his entirety ascended, right?
yes.
So you also have the story with Enoch, who also is taken to heaven, mind, body, and soul, and he's allowed to sit on the throne of God and turn into Metatron. It seems like the people who are being up to heaven, full body, are more powerful than everybody else.
Well,
He's
I don't know what
he's turned into
happened to
Megatron.
yeah, Enoch is turned into Metatron.
Metatron. It's a
Me-
Jewish.
me-
It's a Jewish angel.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Meta.
Yes, a Jewish tradition. I'm
I
sorry.
like Meta.
Brought into the
Megatron.
New Age. Don't forget about the New Age part, you know? You throw
Well,
all over the place.
Megatron.
It's Jewish.
Megatron.
That's heretical.
Still
'cause
bright in that one.
mainstream Orthodox Jewish don't recognize the Metatron, but however, it is a thing. So it seems like the people that are brought up to heaven in this manner, because we go up as spirits and we choose some spiritual body or something like that. But it seems like when the physical body goes up to heaven, there's a major power balance or something happens. You got Christ, you got Metatron, and what was it? Ezekiel,
Elias, Elijah.
Elijah, right?
If you ever go out on the
Elijah.
natural, there's a
Elijah.
lot more going on. I'm just saying.
Do you have any thoughts on that? Because you people don't think of the spirit world as a physical three-dimensional place,
Well,
but you bring
keep
in
in
the
mind-
three-dimensional body.
Keep in mind too, didn't Jesus say that John the Baptist was Elias or Elijah come again?
Right.
So,
No, that's what the people say.
oh, okay.
Thank
That
you,
was
Ken.
what Jesus said.
So what is your opinion on that from a Catholic perspective?
What is the question? So I understand Metatron
So-
is the some
Do you feel
sort
as
of
though there is a
Why?
special
belief.
I think his point is that when
bring
you know
the physical body
Jesus
to heaven?
ascended to heaven bodily, and he's obviously at the right hand of God. And you've got Metatron, who was apparently originally Enoch, who was taken up to heaven bodily, and he got this great job up there. And I'm not sure what happened to Elijah. Maybe they sent him back down as John the Baptist because he didn't do a good enough job. The idea is that if you were brought up to heaven in a physical body,
Body
you
is
have
in
more
heaven.
power up there. Although my first thought is like, well, if you're being brought up there bodily, you got to be a pretty hot property anyway.
I don't think you can transmute.
Okay, wait.
or
There's
transform.
also there's at least one other person, Mary.
Oh, right.
Mary,
BVM,
Mary
right.
who's
Yeah.
assumed
Right.
bodily into heaven.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
Just
but I guess I'm not quite understanding
I
V's
just-
question. Are you
I-
saying that
me, it's
the
like
body
there's-
being in heaven is like a contradiction in the spirit world, or what?
Not a contradiction, but an enhancement, like a transubstantiation, an even further enlightenment, or further.
No, well, that so the Christian understanding is at the end time,
Mhm.
all the dead body are all going to be resurrected, right? We're all going to be resurrected at the end time.
It's not
So
a.
Jesus' ascension into heaven is just the foreshadowing of that reality.
But when we're resurrected, it's supposed to be into a spiritual body, isn't it? Not a physical.
Nope, physical and spiritual. So at the end time, we're going to be united with our body.
Okay.
and then that'll be the that'll be the forever after.
Oh, that's terrible. I don't want my body. Can I have a new one?
Seriously, bro.
That's
You
problematic.
gotta go. You gotta go through the body, pal. Sorry.
We're having heaven issues.
It'll be
Problematic. I need a new one.
no. Well, you don't know what your glorified body is going to be like. If you make it to heaven at the end
You
time
make
and
your
you
glorified
reunited
body.
with your
You make
body,
that from your vibration, from who you are. You make that body.
Well,
That's what you create, kind of thing.
you said
Mark-
it's heaven. Oh my God. Now I'm in mortal soul.
but your resurrected body, if you hopefully you can make it, and we all can make it. But
Or real.
it's gonna be, even though it is it's got the wounds and scars of this earthly life, all the pains that you're going through, the
So you have
suffering
the
that you
memories.
endured on
You
your
bring
body.
your memories with you. That would be memories, right? I think that's
Yeah.
mainly what's
Right.
being talked about. There's memories. Because
Yeah.
how can you even
So
have
even
that
even those
remember
are
it?
going to be glorious. You'll be able to, with this body, you'll be able to do amazing things that you cannot do in this earthly life.
Listen,
Right?
if
Just
I come
like
back as
Jesus
a
did when
zombie,
he resurrected and he walked through walls. There
There are no walls there.
well,
There's no
all I know is that if I come back as a zombie, I'm going to be very upset.
No.
Come back as a
Hopefully-
zombie, V. Don't worry about that shit, dude.
Hopefully, your
The only
spiritual,
thing could be a zombie is here, okay?
yeah.
If they fuck you up so much or whatever, you know.
I think your spiritual development will be good enough, V, that you won't be a zombie. But
I think so, Otto. Thank
I mean, if you worry from your current state of life that you will be resurrected as a zombie, then you have some time to do some work on your body.
Right, right.
And the
Some
spirit.
shadow work or some shit needs to happen there. Another. Don't
you guys,
spend your time fucking thinking about that shit.
It's still
It's
time
your
to polish that
thoughts
body.
create reality kind of thing, you know.
Okay,
There's
so
a
we
great book called Captain Stormfield's Visit to Heaven, written by Mark Twain. I don't know if anyone here has ever read it.
I've never.
And it's a very interesting, I would suggest. It's not very long, but he talks about what it's like to live in heaven, and it's fascinating. And he's leaving Earth, and he's an old captain, so he's on a comet, and he's riding to heaven. And of course, it's a giant. Twain is using modern to him astronomical knowledge, so he's got all these billions of miles to go before he gets to heaven, and he goes off course. So he winds up at this gate, and there's no humans there. And it's just like aliens, and they don't even know where Earth is. And it's like, so where are you from? It's like, oh, I'm from Connecticut. What planet is that? And it's like, what? So finally, he's talking to them, and he's trying to tell them where he's from. So he finally says, well, it's the planet that the Savior saved. And the guy just looks up and says, the number of planets that the Savior has saved is more uncountable than all. That's not helping us find out who you are. And they finally figure him out. And they get him to the right district of heaven. But it was interesting. He mentioned things like heaven is laid out just like the earth, except it's like bigger, and it's always going to get bigger because it's infinite in extent in theory.
Heaven
So
is
he goes to like America where he used to live. There's no white people. It's like everybody there are Indians. And it's like, wow. It's like, well, yeah, most of the people that lived and died here were not white. And it's like, oh, wow. So he goes over to England. Most of them don't even speak anything like English. They're all speaking like Anglo-Saxon dialects and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard. But one thing they mentioned was about the bodies. And you could have any body you wanted. And he's like, hey, he's talking to a buddy of his. He still had the same old body. He's like, and he had another old friend up there. And he's like, how come you never tried to be 20? It's like, oh, you'll try it. Everybody tries it. But, you hang out with the other 20-year-olds and you realize that they don't have anything you're really interested in talking about. People tend to basically have to go back to their age that they were, or the age where they last had good faculties. You're not going to be like 85 if you were like dribbling and all that, but you might go back to a respectable 70 or 65 because those were your friends are, and that was your intellectual equipment. And then as you became wiser, you would age yourself because those were the guys that you hung out with. And But I don't know how accurate that is as far as actual dogma goes. But
I like the
Yeah.
concept because, like, my father, like, when he would, as a small child, like, he would sit me down in a chair and cut my hair, and we talk. You know, that's barber time. You got to talk. And like 5 years old, he would tell me, like, you have this gigantic gray patch in the back of your head. I'm like, no, you're
wow.
no, that's not happening. That's not real. You're lying to me. And then when we would talk, he's like, you know what? You're 5 going on 40. I never knew what that. I mean, today I'm 40, and I feel as though that was a true statement.
You made it. You made it. You got from 5 to 40. Wow.
I have something to add. I heard while I was away. Otto, you were talking about your intellectual equivalent as far as like being in your body with something.
Right.
And what I know, you know, from what I've learned in talking with spirits and things like that, is that what you project, it might not be like if you died when you were 80 or something, you're not going to be like coming back all fucked up, like
right.
if you were all fucked up or whatever, you know, to where you come back at your intellectual equivalent. That's the same thing. It's just like the time when you were feel most comfortable with, basically.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah.
to me, that would be your intellectual equivalent, for sure.
When you felt you were at your peak. Yeah.
Yeah, like a peak thing.
And in that kind of a scenario, yeah, it would be a natural outgrowth of your mental attitude because
Exactly. And that would be the projection, which in those realms, you don't have a physical body so much. You only have a projection, which is given to those here in this physical realm kind of thing.
Well,
that's the only way to relate to it.
Sonia, I wouldn't talk about talking to spirits and being a witch or anything like that, because we do have a Catholic on the call. He might crucify you, burn you at the stake.
Oh, whatever. Come on, V.
Oh, and disappears. Oh my God. Oh,
Dude.
Well, I don't think any Catholic can deny the existence of the supernatural by definition. But,
Thank you. Thank you.
As far as like the body and the spirit goes, I was thought about how, as we are now, our bodies influence our spirits, whereas there can be another state where our spirits influence our bodies. And of course, they go both ways. But if we no longer have a body, any body we get subsequently is going to be defined by our spirit. Terry Pratchett made a good point about that. I love Terry Pratchett stories, and he talked about like someone dying and their ghost just basically being the age they thought they were inside. So
exactly,
yeah,
that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. Yep. And in my experience in seeing spirits, that is exactly how it goes. I mean, I haven't. I would love to delve into this more and be like, or like experience more about this sort of thing. That's actually my goal right now. But I know we're not talking about personal goals, so I won't.
Well,
continue on.
Personal goals, sir. What are you talking about? We're all talking about personal goals.
Yeah.
and you just
Well, I would just like to be able to read for people and things. What? Which? What?
Well, you just talked about talking.
Huh? Motherfucker.
Come on now, I don't want you burned at the stake by this Catholic. Come on now.
There's no stake burnings going on anymore, dude. Are you okay? You know what? I think in your last lifetime, maybe that might have happened to you, and that's why you got this little thing about it, you know?
The last people executed
Maybe
by the
fucking so.
Inquisition.
Okay.
The last people executed by the Inquisition was in Spain. I believe it was in the early 1800s. The two people were charged and convicted. It was a Quaker and a Jew, both of whom were living in Spain, and they were both accused and found guilty of being a Quaker and a Jew, from what I understand. And they refused to convert or recant.
It's the same retarded shit that goes on these days.
That was
the
last
NWO's got
Fed.
people fucking talking, you know? Mark, I love
People
your
got
hair.
burned for
I'm glad
being
you
a
didn't
Jew?
cut it.
I believe it had to do with heresy, but on the other hand,
Most
the
likely.
Inquisition and the Spanish Inquisition was an office of the Spanish government.
Yes.
And at that time, the Habsburg monarchy and the papacy were basically almost the same thing. They even had a Cardinal Infante. Infante was like a royal prince, and he functioned as a royal prince on maneuvers, led military expeditions, and a full government official, and at the same time was a cardinal priest.
And was an infant.
In fact, he renounced, I think at one point in his career, he renounced his priesthood in order to marry for a dynastic necessity. So these were guys that were treating religion as an arm of government.
Yes.
So it's not fair to judge religious doctrine or the best spiritual aspects of a religion simply because of the way it was misused. I mean, when the Roman government made Christianity the official religion, suddenly religious excuses could be used for military actions and, importantly, from their point of view, social conformity. And it was always a great excuse to invade someone and convert the panem. I always point out that was the thing about Charlemagne, who baptized all those Saxons and then chopped their heads off. And it's like, you know what? He would have chopped their heads off anyway. He wasn't killing them because they weren't Christians. He was killing them because they were Saxons. He did not like Saxons.
Well, listen, it's all mind control. The only thing that I pride myself on knowing is being an expert in mind control. That's what it is.
Right, ditto, V. I feel the same way, absolutely. I want to write a book here sooner or later about this because
let me
I'm very
also
familiar with the black magician shit that comes in, and it's like, like around words and concepts, just in the ethers, really.
see, let me also point something else out too. This is like freaking something Sonya's been begging for years. Just to sit back and have conversations like this.
Oh,
she's eating this up, I guarantee you.
Well, it's nice to see you guys again, all of you guys actually, and it's nice to meet you, Otto, for the first time in like video or whatever. But yeah, I miss you guys. It's awesome. It's so cool.
Have you had a chance to meet Tan before now?
Oh yeah, me and Tan, remember Tan? We go way back.
We go way back.
We went to the festival that one time and shit. With Emily. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Of course, is something I've long felt, and it's that if you are a kind, good person, you will have a kind, good religion. If you're a mean, wicked religion. And I think that these religious excesses and things have more to do with the personalities of the people. I
don't think anybody should have a religion. Religion was built to just control humanity.
It's all control.
I like to see religion as a kind of a natural outgrowth of people's spirituality. It has been said that religion,
not knowing who they are,
religion is a flight from a religious experience. And there is that argument that the religious experience is one thing, but people codify it because most people can't go around in a state of religious ecstasy all the time. I mean, unless you're a saint or something like that, it's just not in your job description. I mean, I could not go to work every day, and be in a state of religious ecstasy. So people tend to take these experiences and codify them and try to reduce them to human language, which is always going to be limited. And
very difficult. Yeah, very difficult. However, I wouldn't call it a religious experience necessarily. The only reason why folks call it a religious experience when they have experiences like these, where they find themselves or they have this inner epiphany or whatever it is because we're trained growing up here on earth to, like, God is outside of yourself. This is a religious thing. You have to go here and do this and worship these people.
The religious part is not necessarily even part of the experience as such, but I think Tan would be the first to acknowledge that, and again, my knowledge of this is limited, but there are two churches. There is the physical church made up of fallible human beings, but then there is the spiritual church.
Right.
In Buddhism, we have it's called the Sangha, which is about the closest equivalent to Buddhist clergy, the monks, the bhikkhus. And you have the Sangha, but then you have what they call the Noble Sangha. The Noble Sangha are the monks who have actually attained enlightenment. They are Arhat disciples.
I have a challenge.
Are you Buddhist?
Something you said. I want to
Buddhist, yeah.
You said.
Sweet.
I want to give an example first. So, nice people with nice religions and mean people with mean religions. I can only think of, like, the Jainism, how they don't want to destroy any kind of life form.
Yeah.
living
Yeah.
life form, and then you have the Vikings. You want to get to Valhalla? You want to get to human heaven? You
I have
got to kill.
Valkyrie wings tattooed on my
people.
head. Okay, I'm fucking a Valkyrie for the
Yeah.
love.
You got to kill as many people as humanly possible and die in battle to get to heaven.
No, it's
Oh.
it's the brave ones. The ones who don't put up with shit is what Valkyries fetch.
It's a little. I mean, my understanding of it is
In order to get to heaven to Valhalla, you have to die in battle.
Well, you have to die being brave, and back in the day, that's what happened was battles. There you go.
So reflection.
And they still happen today. It's just in a different field.
But I want to challenge the nice and mean aspect that you give to it. What is nice and mean? Because let's bring Christianity into it. You having to sacrifice and act a certain way in order to get into the gates of heaven. I mean, I don't know if that's nice or mean, but it seems controlling. And there's so many
Controlling, sure.
There's so many requirements, and it's like I didn't have to be here.
Exactly. That's why
Why
it's
is
bullshit,
there
baby.
requirements?
I noticed that people
That's
hate
why it's
requirements.
bullshit.
People hate requirements, don't they? And they hate
That's
doing
what's
anything
required. The only thing is required is for you to be happy with yourself and to be happy in who you are and what you've done or not done or everything. It's all about the person.
In
Not about
Buddhism,
external stuff.
in Buddhism, the Buddha said, "I teach two things and two things only: suffering and how to end suffering."
Right.
So Buddhism is really all about how to be happy. But in
Yeah,
Buddhism, there are a
Absolutely.
lot of rules on how to be happy.
Well,
For
there's a
example,
lot of techniques on how you can change your perspective in order to reap a sort of happiness. Yeah,
well,
for sure.
in Buddhism, it's very cause and effect. It's basically, if you want to end suffering, then do these things. If you don't want to end suffering, no one's holding a gun to your head. But
Right.
for example, we have precepts, and the Buddhist layperson keeps a minimum of 5 precepts. This is not
Just like
to
the
kill,
Hell's Angels.
not
Precepts.
to kill, not to lie, not to steal,
Right.
not to cheat on your spouse,
Right.
and not to consume alcohol.
But these are like social rules in order to have a working social society. However, my ordeal is that if you are given you talk about the suffering and not suffering. However, there are other religions, and this is kind of why I think this is a great topic on the third thing, because you have two elements, and there is a third element that is expected to come out of it. You have us, you have the law, the word of God, philosophy, whatever you want to put in that place, and we are expected to make something out of it. We are supposed to do good works, for example. Christians are supposed to do good works, help people, love people, and be generous, and these things. And these things all require self-sacrifice, which is kind of putting you in a pool of suffering if you're one of those people who don't care that you have nothing and still give everything.
Nah, you see,
Right?
in
Where am I-
Buddhism, these rules are not simply for social cohesion. Buddhism is always focused on the individual. The upshot of people keeping precepts is, of course, a more stable society. As a Buddhist friend of mine used to say, if everyone kept precepts, what would you need police for? You'd barely need a government just to keep the borders maintained and the roads maintained, right? So in Buddhism, if you do not kill and you do not lie and you do not steal, you do not cheat on your spouse, you do not drink alcohol, these things are to make you happier. You will be a happier person if you restrict yourself from doing certain things. And the Buddha says, just try it and see. I keep 5 precepts as best I can. And it has made my life a lot easier, a lot more fun. And that's the only reason I follow the path. And the Buddha says, you take these, don't believe me, don't believe anything just because an authority says so. Instead, try it, see what results you get, and go from there. So if I pursue a path that has given me this comfort and this ability to control my own mind so that I can think more clearly, but it's going to mean restrictions.
So Otto, let me interrupt. So you talk about a path, and so my ideology is, and well, not mine, but the one I'm speaking of is that certain religions require you. So you're talking about Buddhism is sort of a introverted sort of thing, but when you talk about Christianity, Christianity is all about community and doing works for others.
There's a lot of Buddhism.
I don't doubt that. But the thing is, my question would be, I guess, in Buddhism, like in Christianity, you have God's will, you have a call, you have even sometimes a God-given mission of life, right? According to Christianity, you have a purpose, a mission. Does Buddhism tout any kind of a special person to get a mission of any kind?
I think in Buddhism you're supposed to be a self-starter, and again they're laying out the mission of ending your suffering, and if you end your suffering, you end the suffering of the people around you to a great extent, and it has to do with, again, and that's the mission is, I want to end my suffering. You have to decide whether you want to do that or not.
Right.
But it's interesting because what is it that you want to do, V, that you feel that that these rules don't allow you? That's the question. And that's why we have precepts, because if you tell yourself, I'm not going to drink, or I'm not going to tell a lie, and that's a tough one.
It gives you a choice to decide for yourself. It sets it out. Hey, this is what you should do or shouldn't do or whatever, like you were saying, and then you can decide to do that or not. And then it actually it puts the ball in your court to where you can choose to do whatever it is you want to do thereafter. Kind of thing.
Very much so. And the Buddha said,
I want to refine my concept in question here, Otto. So if it is a calling for someone to do something, I understand the structure in Christianity. I do, but does it exist? I mean, if
I can't say that.
If I can say that some Buddhist guy comes to me and says, you have to die because Buddhists told me to tell you that you have to die, and I have to kill you. This is my karma. This is how I get to heaven.
That sounds like Vajrayana Buddhism, maybe, or Mahayana. There's all kinds of weird versions of Buddhism.
It is in Mahayana, isn't it?
Well, the only thing, and I'm not an expert, I can consult my spiritual advisor on all things Buddhism, the patriarch of the Navagavada movement, Panyabasa, and I can ask him about it. But it seems to me that in Buddhism, I remember one of the meditators was saying, and it is, just because you have a vision or something, you've got to examine it very closely and make sure it's in accordance with your practice, with the Dhamma, right? And you've got to, again, you're a self-starter. I don't think there's this idea of like a mission from God or something like that.
That's what I'm getting to, right?
If you've decided to go on your own mission to end your suffering. And he doesn't teach anything else. And he's not really concerned with a lot of the stuff we would consider religious questions. That's why I think Buddhism can be very accessible to Westerners who have been raised in, we do have a very secular milieu. And Buddhism does not depend upon either secularism or theism or anything like that. It kind of sidesteps a lot of that because that's not what we're particularly working on. But it has given me a great deal of respect for any sincerely held religious or spiritual belief. And again, it gets back to, I have met really good, intelligent people, many of whom are sitting here right now or standing. I can't see what everyone's doing. Who, people, as my grandfather used to say, people of good faith, people who will willing to sit and talk with each other.
There's your
with mutual respect.
I sit in between, as a Gnostic, I sit literally in between like you and Tan, like literally. As far as Buddhism and Catholicism, I'm like, Gnosticism has so much Eastern ideology in it, and it's all coded. It's coded language and it's coded. Everything's coded, and this is why it's such a great topic for this show because, to me, I look at it like this: we have our own consciousness and we have information which we glean from our environment. we're supposed to do something with that, and that is the third thing to me. If you ask me what my definition of it is, that's how it feels to me. We're supposed to do something. So what is that third thing? That third thing needs to be, and it needs to be probably worked on, or maybe not worked on. Who knows?
Well, not really. Hold up. Let me point something out
Roger,
to you. Hey, hold up.
Come in.
It's the language you just said there. It needs to be worked on. It needs to be okay. That the word it needs to be. The third thing doesn't need to be anything. It's what you make it on a personal level. It's like you like this whole thing with religion. Hold up. It's like this whole thing about religion versus spirituality. Okay, it's okay to have a religion. Okay, but the thing of it is you have to have a spiritual life too, and people have a hard time differentiating between the religious and the spiritual.
Good call, Rich.
You know, I like to say, you know, a religious person is sitting in church thinking about fishing, while a spiritual person is fishing thinking about God.
Okay.
But I think you can also sit in church and
That
think
makes
about
sense.
God, so. And you can also fish and think about fish.
Yeah, I've got that, and that brings up a question. I've been thinking about this, and you reminded me a question I had for Otto. I know I should just be interviewing him at some later point in time.
Probably.
But so do you think Genesis, the band, their song "Land of Confusion" was inspired not only politically but maybe by Samsara?
It's possible. I mean, any product of samsaric life is going to be samsaric. So, you can find samsara everywhere. You know, there was a Buddhist Ajahn
It's just
who
another
was
word.
out in the
It's not
forest.
freedom.
and-
It's. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not confusion. It's freedom, isn't it? Isn't that just another way to look at it? Our
Oh,
freedom.
samsara is very confusing, and it's in a sense you're like basically making confusion your ground of being, because you go from one thing to another. It's like a hobo hopping a train. You jump on one train and you think about one thing, and then you think about something else. We have a very little control over the different people inside of us that take over our minds.
Right.
And you know, I've talked about it before. You go to work, you've got one kind of mind when you talk to your boss, another kind of mind when you talk to your
Yeah.
spouse, another kind of mind when you talk to a stranger. So
We
it's
all wear separate masks for different situations.
I'm
Well,
gonna make
the trouble
decisions
is
about
these
that too.
masks can take over, and we have no control over which mask is going to be. And the angry mask can come out, or the sad mask, the depressing mask.
If we practice conscious mind, then we're going to have control over that.
Well, that's the thing. It's the idea is that if you get yourself into the here and now, right here and right now, and there is nothing else but now.
Mhm.
5 seconds ago doesn't exist. 5 seconds from now do not exist. All we have are
Right.
memory and expectations, right?
Riding the
So
wave,
when
is
we're
what I call it.
sitting here, we have immense power, and I've seen it too often. People have been taught just groove with the now and everything's okay. And yeah, you can get in that state, and that was taught by a lot of corporate meditation trainers to get people happy to sit in front of a computer all the time and not get a Christmas bonus, right?
Absolutely.
In Buddhism, when you're there, this is the time when you have control over these things. You can step back and say, why did I say that? Why am I thinking that? I was talking before about the
Self-reflection.
precept. If you tell yourself, all right, I'm going to try keeping precepts and I'm not going to lie. And then you catch yourself, and then that is so that you say to yourself, why do I want to lie now? Start looking at what
Right.
you're doing.
It's
So,
self-introspection, like analyzing yourself or questioning yourself.
and if
That's
you
how
can't control,
enlightenment begins.
and if you
My
can't
brain is
control
going-
lying to other people, you're going to be lying to yourself.
Okay, how about this? How about this? How about this? Okay, and again, this ties into the third kind, and it's just how Roger just explained it, and you know my mind's going here. So, you talk about we've talked on many different shows about the past, present, and the future. Well, some people would say the past doesn't exist, but I'm not going to tell anybody to do this. But I've seen, I mean, there's a word that comes into mind that directly deals with the past, that is constantly on the present, and that is trauma.
Right.
Somebody kicked the dog,
Good
right?
point.
And this dog, you have to feed it, and you have to see it every day. But it's afraid of you, and it constantly remembers the fact that you kicked it.
Right. Yeah. Trauma is a memory. Exactly. It is a memory,
What
which
do you
happens right
remember,
now.
though? It depends on what you remember, not what the dog remembers.
Well, the
You're
dog,
only in charge of your own self. You're not in charge of anything else, any other being.
I learned from I learned from a wise man that used to tell me all the time. He's like, and it came off of a western, but he used to say you have two dogs, okay, that are sitting on your shoulders. You have the good dog. You have the good dog. You have the bad dog. It's your choice which one you want to feed.
right?
Yeah, but what is good and what is bad? Where's your perspective at? You know, I mean, good and bad is a matter of perspective, really.
It falls back on your emotions, and this is something that we've had a conversation, me and Otto, recently about. There's a difference between emotions over intellect and thinking on emotional levels, okay? I have to learn how to recognize my emotions. When I'm doing something bad, I feel it. I know I'm doing something bad. Just like when I'm doing something good, I know I'm doing something good. So that's how you...
And I would also say offhand, in Buddhism, we tend to say not so much that you're good or you're bad, but you've been skillful or you've been unskillful in what you've done. And when you're unskillful, it causes pain, it causes suffering. It can be unskillful, can be you shouldn't have chopped your toe off with that axe. You shouldn't have said that word to your spouse.
Clear way to
Great psychology of a psychopath there for a second. As long as it works, it's good. No.
But the thing is, though, when you look at it that way, it's Buddhism is talking about your behavior. You can change your behavior. If you say, I'm bad because I did this, you don't have as much hope as if you say, I was unskillful. What I did was not good, and I'm going to resolve not to do that again. But you can't do that unless you can stare at it, honestly, because we lie to ourselves about what we do all the time.
Right.
We don't want to be honest with us.
Because of mind control, you know this be.
Well, every time you don't control your own mind, anytime you don't control your mind, someone or something else is, and it's usually some thought.
It's about controlling your mind and your perspective, and having your own perspective, and being able to change your perspective depending on what you're dealing with in order to ascend, I guess, because they are growing spirit, basically. Is what that is.
I want to talk more about trauma here, though. I mean, I'm in a place right now. There's a couple dogs here. They have traumatic pasts. Like, they can't be around men. I'm the only man that can be around. Like, and I try my best to if you give them treats and you pet them and you love them, they have a reaction that's, I guess, considered positive and that sort of thing. But if they hear me downstairs yelling or something, they're in their cages shivering.
Yeah, trauma. It's a trauma reaction.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like, you want to talk about mean, nice?
Guys.
Yeah,
I just want to say something.
Yes, Ken.
Is Mark still here?
Yes, he's still here.
I haven't heard from you in 2 hours.
Yeah,
He's not pitching in much.
learning.
He's just the agnostic enjoying all this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, I do.
I'm gonna be disappearing in a short while.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. But
Thanks,
now,
Mark.
be,
I was thinking actually one that wouldn't talk much.
now hold on for a minute, because before everybody takes off, I do want to do a closing thing on this and have you guys give your socials, okay? Now, I wanted to bring up the beginning, the first episode topics for a reason, is because I don't know, for everybody who's been a part of this series, this first 12 videos, that I suggest that you go back and you watch it over again, because this is probably the most amazing compilation of videos I've put together. It incorporates not only theology, it also talks about physics. I wanted to stay away from a lot of the esoteric stuff, because I also have a show called The Esoteric Agenda, which kind of delves into a lot of this stuff, but I did want to talk about the metaphysics as well. And that
Goes.
not only with
Chillax,
that,
my friend.
not only with that, but we've also discussed the history, philosophy, and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of good stuff that's going on in this, and I'm really proud of it. And we were able to finish it off just before Halloween. Tomorrow is Good Friday, and that was one reason why Tan offered to come on and talk to us about Easter and stuff like that. And
Dude, I love Tan. He's the greatest,
now
bro.
this has
You
been
don't know me.
You're my bro. I know you.
know-
I know you. All right. I know, but I
You know,
know you.
when I look at Tan's avatar on Minds.com, I would think he looks like a supervillain. You look like a supervillain in that.
he looks, dude, I love it.
Have an
You know
army
what?
of
I think-
robot warriors behind you or something.
Yeah.
Because you got the high neck thing going, and you have this
Yeah.
look like,
I think
well,
I got
Mr.
connected
Bond,
with
I
that.
have you at last, kind of thing.
And to end the season, I also want to give my respect to Bob Dub, because a lot of this stemmed out of me and her show Duality, and I wouldn't have been wanting to do this if I didn't start there, and a lot of this came out of her, so I give her a lot of respect for
Yeah.
this.
Hell yeah.
And I'm really glad Sonya came along too, because a lot of freaking nights me and her sat talking about this very same stuff in private. And
That's why she's not talking to me. You're taking all her.
well, it's big.
That
it's-
I was
Talk
wondering.
It,
We got some talking to do. Okay.
Yeah, we do. We do.
and I also want to say thank you to Otto and to Tan, because Otto and Tan both really have discussed a lot about their beliefs when it comes to Buddhism and Christianity, and I do appreciate that. And of course, Mike, aka Minds Gaming, and Mark Edworthy for science and computer science, which, by the way, is another aspect of this series too, because we did get into computer science and how it relates to a lot of this stuff as well.
Don't forget the hotness.
Oh, and the hotness. I even
And the hotness.
I even on the
Yes,
last
with hotness.
episode.
He is.
Oh, wait. Who's the hotness?
Mark, he's the best dressed man on the internet.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
especially in
Fabio,
thoughts.
Fabio,
Nope,
baby.
guys.
Fabio Flip.
If I were gay, I'd be all over Mark.
Right?
He said it.
No, listen.
Mark's
I love the
getting worried
British accent.
about.
I love
Yeah.
the British accent.
Dude, he
I love-
tried, man. Mark didn't want nothing to do with me, man. I was like, well, fine. I guess we'll just take it, you know.
We're gonna get him to blush. You guys keep doing that. Look at his face. He's solid red, dude. He's like
I
solid red.
if I had my own Paul McCartney to myself as a gay man. Oh my god.
Right.
Okay, so before we end, let's go around the room and everybody gives their socials. We'll start out with Mr. Mark Edworthy, Lord Edworthy.
The Sir
Okay.
Lord.
Lord, Sir Lord, Edworthy.
Being the hottest person on the internet, you can find me in Playboy, maybe. You can find me
Playgirl,
on
you mean?
Anyway,
The Playgirl Centerfold.
you can
Boy, that just ruined it right there.
She'll be the
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Hey,
stop.
you know what?
Take a breath. Take a
I might
breath.
go to the other side. I might
Take a
go
breath
to
and
the
start
other side.
all over.
Come on now.
Where can everybody find you, Mr. Edworthy?
the most simplest way to find me is on minds.com under the username Medworthy.
Thank you very much. How about you, Tan Tran? How can people find you?
I trade on mines under channel TH2 Train.
Okay, now let's go to V. V, how can people find you on the internet?
Well, they will find that at the Republic Broadcasting Network, where we're going to have some radio shows on these variety hour. I'm going to have 4-hour time slots on 2 days. I like, again, I have a variety show, variety setup, because I want your guys' shows in my time slots. I'm basically just giving away for you guys to get on the radio. So if you guys want to produce the content with no profanity, you're more than welcome. And that's something I want to talk with Roger and Otto with after this call, and anybody else who wants to join us here.
Okay, so after that, let's go on to Sonia Galactic. How can people find you?
Galacticfire.com. It's a TEC instead of TIC, just a regular way you spell galactic. And then fire.com. And I do t-shirts, and I might do some tarot readings and things like that. But basically, it's t-shirts. Tattoos as well, only if you live in Texas right now. So there you go.
And before we move on to V, I do want to tell you that I have been in contact with my older sister, and I told her about you, and she has got some artwork and some stuff that I want you to look at, and maybe you can put it on your shop for her. So we can talk about that later. I just don't get too many chances to talk to you on Teams anymore, so I figured I would say it here. But she has some really good stuff I think you'd be interested in having on your shop. So with that being said, let's take it out with Otto. Otto, tell everybody how they can find you on the internet.
Well, you can check out my website at navakavada.org. That's NAVAKAVADA. It's spelled just like it sounds. I'm also on Minds.com at Otto X, and you can also find me at Rogers Hangout on Teams.
All right. So with that being said, you can find me also at Rogers Hangout on Teams as well as on Element Matrix. I am also on the Infinite Imaginarium as well as the Quantum Gathering on Elements Matrix as well. You can find me on Discord at the Wonderful World of Weirdness, which this is where the third thing will eventually be published. You can find the Wonderful World of Weirdness on YouTube and on Rumble. And also you can find the fully edited video for this and the other videos on Strange Stories, which is on YouTube as well as Minds at my the Strangeness group on Minds.com. Check it out, and you can see the 15-minute videos that I put on there as well as the full videos if you're a member on my profile, which is Roger_Hanson. So I believe I covered everything. I'm not quite sure. I'm running out of breath there, and it's getting late, so I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah, republicbroadcastingnetwork.org. We're gonna find some of our content that's gonna switch from here to other places, and I do want to talk to everybody here, so please don't hang up after the call. Okay.
So with that being said, I'd like to say thank you to everybody that's on the panel who's been on here. And I'd also like to thank everybody for watching. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share, make comments, leave comments. We love comments. We love to give feedback. And if nobody on the panel sees it, then I will personally reach out to them and let them know that you've made comments to them. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being here, and have a good night, good evening, good morning, whatever time of the day it is for you. Goodbye.